I just watched a man die from drinking water. Not poisoned water, just regular everyday water from the town well. This is the Wild West, where 1 in 5 children won't see their 5th birthday, and the average lifespan is shorter than my last relationship. I'm stuck in 1875 with no antibiotics, no clean water, and apparently a suspicious face according to the local sheriff. That romanticised cowboy life you've seen in movies. It's all bull! And speaking of bulls, I need to tell you about the real dangers of the stampede I barely survived yesterday. I've been stuck in this saloon for 3 days now, and I haven't seen a single gunfight. But I have seen 4 funerals, all from drinking water. Talk about false advertising. Every Western I'd ever watched had me believing I'd be dodging bullets daily. Instead, I'm dodging something far more insidious, microscopic bacteria. This morning, I watched as they lowered another body into the ground. A miner barely 30 years old, not killed in a dramatic shootout or claiming his stake, but from drinking from the wrong well. The real villains of the Wild West don't wear black hats or bandanas over their faces. They're invisible killers floating in water barrels and lingering on unwashed hands.
Best stick to whiskey,
advised the gravedigger as he tossed another shovelful of dirt onto the pine box.
Water'll kill you faster than any outlaw.
He's not wrong. Yesterday, I made the mistake of investigating why the town well smelled so foul. Turns out they've got it situated about 15 feet from the community outhouse and just downhill from where they keep the horses. I nearly vomited watching a child lower a bucket into that death trap, knowing that same water would soon be used for cooking, cleaning and drinking. The real kicker. I developed a slight fever yesterday and the local doctor, and I use that term loosely, suggested bleeding me with tools I swear he'd just used to castrate a horse. When I politely declined, he offered an alternative, a mercury-based elixir that would drive out the demons. I'll take my chances with the fever, thanks. While walking past the schoolhouse, I counted only 7 children. The teacher later told me they'd started the year with 15.
Summer fever,
she explained with the resignation of someone who's seen it too many times. What's most devastating is how preventable it all is. Basic sanitation practices could save countless lives, but such knowledge simply doesn't exist here. I've been keeping a morbid tally in my journal. 4 days, 6 funerals, only 1 involving a firearm, and that was an accidental discharge while cleaning a rusty revolver. The mining camps on the outskirts of town are even worse. Men don't just die from cave-ins or explosions. They're slowly poisoned by the very air they breathe. The constant inhalation of stone dust is filling their lungs, causing a slow, painful death that no doctor here can treat or even properly diagnose. The irony isn't lost on me. Everyone here walks around armed to the teeth, ready for a threat that rarely materialises, while ignoring the real killers all around them. I've done some calculating based on the town's death records. You're approximately 20 times more likely to die from disease than from any bullet here. The marshal hasn't shot anyone in 3 years. But typhoid has taken 12 lives in the last month alone. The undertaker just passed my window, wagon loaded with another pine box. Business is booming for him, not because of some dramatic increase in violence, but because it rained last week and washed more waste into the town's water supply. Death here isn't quick and cinematic. It's slow, undignified, and utterly mundane. I duck into the nearest saloon to escape the grimness outside, only to find a different kind of disappointment waiting inside. The cowboys huddled over card tables aren't the glamorous gunslingers of legend, but exhausted, underpaid labourers with dirty clothes, earning a mere $25 for a month of backbreaking 15-hour days. I saunter up to the bar, trying to channel my inner Clint Eastwood. In the movies, this would be the moment where someone challenges me to a duel or at least makes some threatening remark about strangers not being welcome. Instead, they glanced at me for about 2 seconds before returning to their watered-down drinks and half-hearted card games. No tension, no dramatic piano playing, no sudden silence. Just the mundane reality of men too tired to care about a new face. The bartender slides a bottle my way, and I reach into my pocket for payment, only to pull out a handful of sand. Great. Souvenir from my last time travelling disaster in ancient Egypt. If you're wondering how I ended up buried in a pyramid with nothing but a camel and a very angry mummified cat, well, you should watch the previous episode. Put it on my tab, I suggest with a weak smile. The bartender just glares. The first sip burns like fire, but not in the pleasant, warming way of a good bourbon. This is a chemical burn, the kind that makes your eyes water and your throat close up. I sputter and cough while the bartender watches without sympathy. What's in this stuff?
Whiskey.
And what else?
Bit of this, bit of that. Gives it kick.
Saloon owners weren't exactly following FDA guidelines when stretching their alcohol supplies. The goal wasn't quality. It was maximising profits while ensuring customers still felt something when they drank it. That something might be their internal organs shutting down. But details. I slide onto a bench next to a group of cowboys. Up close, they're nothing like the polished and rugged heroes from Western films. These men have cracked it hands with dirt ground so deep into the creases that no amount of washing will ever remove it. Their clothes reek of sweat, manure and dust. One man's face is sun damaged to the point where he looks 20 years older than he probably is. So, you fellas get into a lot of gunfights? I ask casually. They look at me like I've just asked if they enjoy dancing naked in the moonlight.
Who's got the energy for that nonsense? 15 hours on horseback, and you think I want to spend my 1 hour of free time drawing on some fool?
Another spits tobacco juice dangerously close to my boot.
Bullets cost money. Money we ain't got.
When I press them about their daily lives, not one mentions the honour-bound duels or heroic standoffs that define Western films. They talk about saddle sores that never heal. About cattle that panic during storms and stampede off cliffs. About working from before sunrise until after sunset for wages that barely cover their basic needs. Through the grimy window, I spot a man being arrested across the street. There's no dramatic showdown. No, this town ain't big enough for the both of us, so speech. Just a drunk quietly allowing himself to be led away by a sheriff who looks more annoyed than heroic. Turns out, many frontier towns actually banned firearms in certain areas. Law enforcement was less about quick-draw skills and more about managing day-to-day problems of frontier life. I asked the bartender about duels and he laughs. Actually laughs in my face.
Most men can't afford to waste bullets on showing off, and the ones who can usually have too much sense.
The gunfights that did happen weren't planned affairs, with men walking 10 paces at high noon. They were sudden alcohol-fueled eruptions of violence, ugly, chaotic and deeply unglamorous. I've survived a week in the so-called Wild West, and the romance is officially dead. But so is everything else around here. What historians don't talk about enough is how the era itself was dying. And then there's barbed wire, the invention that literally closed the frontier, the open range. That symbol of Western freedom disappeared behind metal thorns that divided the land into neat little property squares. No more free grazing, no more epic cattle drives. The cowboys, those mythical heroes of American folklore, weren't gunned down. They were simply made obsolete. As I ride away from town, a rattlesnake darts across the path. My horse rears wildly, just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, where your trusty steed dumps you at the worst possible moment. My hand smacking against my watch. The world spins. Suddenly, I'm standing on cobblestone streets. Birmingham 1919. Bloody hell. Is that Tommy Shelby?